All right. So today is March the 1st, 2021, and we are hanging out with Yevgen, and we're going to take a look at his chart and see what we can see. So I will share my screen here. And so you've been telling me a little bit about your situation living in Los Angeles and all of your artistic adventures, which have sounded very, very interesting. And I will say that I am a fan of your art and the very elaborate headpieces that you've been making, and um, the angelic and the demonic armor sites. Right, those are your
It's Chernobyl show design.
Chernobyl show design.
Chernobyl design. I didn't pick up this name when I live in San Francisco, which is I consider my hometown for over 8 years.
Right.
So local drag queens, since I'm gay and I was very integrated in the queer community there.
Mm-hmm.
So drag queens are calling me, where are you from? I'm from Ukraine. Where is it? So then Chernobyl was not very nor popular nor well known in America and United States. It happened in the early 80s and affected almost the whole world,
Right.
mostly Eurasia.
Right.
So yeah, and that's how drag queens start memorizing me. They call it, oh, Chernobyl, Chernobyl. Okay, nothing else they knew about Ukraine. So that's how
So,
that's
so
why I
were
called my
you
name.
were you close by the disaster when that happened? Was that part
So
of your?
originally I'm Odessa. It's not that close, but what we call close. It
Okay.
affects you. So it's miles, thousands miles around. It goes
Right.
down, and now we have a documentary. We have HBO show that shows that they put the dome there. Now it's kind of protected, but my mother cut her thyroid recently. All my family members and friends have kind of like precancer, cancerian stuff. So it's like Hiroshima, Nagasaki.
Right.
Finally, people are like after 30 years, when all those who was responsible probably died, and now we get the secrets, right? Now we have the world knows about it.
Right.
So that's I thought that I will do flashy stuff for reaching famous, and that's why I attracted attention. And when they ask me what is Chernobyl is, I will
Right.
tell them.
Yeah.
But then HBO show pop up and everything. I don't want to take credit for that, but that was the reason to kind of like use my drag and go boy and the boylesque burlesque performer, and then use it for my brand later when I moved to Los Angeles and opened my creative lab and work like over 5 years before Trump administration. And then
Sure.
2016, I shut down everything and went to school, college, punishing myself
Okay.
for a luxurious, flashy, shallow lifestyle.
When
Venus.
sure, sure. So when did you leave Ukraine and come here?
I won green card lottery when I was 28 and a half, so I moved when I was 30. So it was my Saturn return.
So your Saturn return. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. And you
Here.
said that your mom is still around, or she passed, you said, or?
No. My mom in Ukraine, my sister and her family. Yes, so they're all there.
So your mom and your sister are still in Ukraine?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And okay, let's see. Well, some definitely some themes that were coming up when I was looking at your chart. One thing that I like to do is kind of break down some of the different thematic elements that come from your from the decans, and show you some of the tarot cards associated with that. Uh, I guess a good place to start would be your sect light, since you are a nocturnal sect born in the nighttime. You have a balsamic moon phase here that you were born under, which is kind of the ending of a cycle. So balsamic moons are sort of about creating a legacy to pass on to future generations. So there is a lot of things about, deciding what you are going to leave behind and what you are going to pass on, and how you're going to consolidate your wisdom into something that will benefit people in the future. And it sounds like that you've been already taking steps to do that, to educate people about the Chernobyl disaster, and also to pass on your artistic talents and artistic creations as well, correct?
I would say yes, and I would elaborate a little bit more. And when you win green card lottery, you think you get a candy, right? It's like, wow, it's a reward. And then when you go to the foreign land, like following the white rabbit, you have no idea how you're gonna exist with like no resources,
Right.
only like 28 years of your life in a completely different land. So you cannot fail. The sense of Capricornial responsibility, if I would explain this uh, how we call it, this position of the moon placement. It's like I can go back if I fail.
Yeah.
What am I gonna do? So it's a kick your ass a lot.
Yeah, that's a moon that is in its exile, right? That's kind of maybe not necessarily feeling at home with where you're at as well. Like could be feeling out of
Being
place.
gay, probably all this moon and sun opposite Saturn, it's like they're all like upside down. You are a foreigner among your people as a gay man in a pretty homophobic society. Ukrainians are post-Soviet. And you hear the people look at you, especially when you open your mouth, right? It's like, oh, foreigner. You like white, right? I can imagine my experience if I would be black or any other races here.
Sure.
So I was lucky moving to San Francisco, so it didn't feel like that much as a moon and Capricorn.
Right.
For me, it's the first time in my life because it just was like, oh, so many people like me.
Well, and you have a lot of interesting contacts with the moon too. Few things are sticking out to me. You've got this opposition with Saturn in the 10th, which is also ruled by the moon. So you have a mutual reception between Saturn and the moon. So even though both of them are in their exile, they are somehow helping one another out. And to me, one of the things that I wrote down in my notes preparing your chart was that you are able to reflect upon your experiences, from your roots, that you will be able to express publicly, that you'll be able to bring to light through the work that you do publicly as well. So to me, like the art that you do is drawing upon a very deep source and something that is very much at the core of your being. And that moon is also conjoining a fixed star called Vega, and Vega is in the constellation the Lyre. And the lyre is like a beautiful instrument that was one of Orpheus's kind of magical instruments, and he was able to soothe the savage beast with his music. And he was able to use that instrument to put people to sleep, but also to, like, through his charisma, kind of
Glamorizing.
glamorize, pacify. So like through your expression, you may be able to bring peace to people as well. That could be something that you could be doing with your art, is being able to use your compassion. That was another word that came up with that fixed star, was your compassion for maybe others suffering as well, and being able to express that through your art. So the interesting thing with the opposition with Saturn is Saturn is also on a fixed star called Canopus. And Canopus was a fixed star in the constellation the Argo. And that was the great ship that goes across the horizon, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
Ar-
Odysseia. I was born in Odessa, by the way.
there you go, Odysseus, right? Perfect.
Yeah. Odysseia, Odessa, yeah.
So when I see Saturn on a fixed star, there are two ways that I kind of interpret that. One is that you could be bound, like Saturn, to that kind of mission, right? I mean, with this fixed star, there is the mission to be a navigator of your own life and try to find the direction and be an explorer. So, Canopus was the navigator of the Argo, so he was trying to like direct kind of where the ship was going. So you maybe there's two ways to think about this. Saturn also denies things in youth, and we have to work harder to manifest it as we get older through time, through endurance, through restoring right proportion. So you could either have been denied the ability to be the director of your own life when you were younger, um, or this could be you are bound to have to become that as you age. And this is
Mhm.
something that's feeding that moon and that sun as well, is this drive to find a direction and to explore the unknown. Does that make sense?
Yes, but does that correlate with father figures? It's in the 10th house. We're talking about the not in relation to the opposition, but specifically Saturn in retrograde in what is it? The Sirius there, right?
Yeah, Sirius as well as part of the story. It's close to Sirius and Canopus. Sirius is about has significations of immortality and associations with Isis and being able to restore her husband Osiris after he was chopped up into little pieces, and he was brought back together by Isis so that they could mate and conceive their son Horus. But then Osiris became Lord of the Underworld. So there's a death and resurrection type of theme with Sirius. He was the guardian also of the underworld, the three-headed dog, right?
Mhm.
Um, I think that this axis, fourth and 10th houses, can be mother or father. In Hellenistic astrology, the father would tend to be fourth house. But since you have the Saturn representing the ruler of the fourth house, that could also represent father as well.
Mhm.
Or it could potentially be mother, since mother could be associated with 10th house as well. So I'm curious. So what was your experience of mother and father? Is there a story connected with that?
Okay, I didn't know where to start. So, abusive alcoholic father, very handsome, very attractive,
Mhm.
womanizer. When I turned 18, it was my mother's anniversary. She turned 40. In front of our guests for her birthday party, he physically attacked her. I protected mother, pushed him away, and he fainted. When we brought him back to consciousness, he refused to calm down. So we had to take all our stuff and leave our home, me, my mother, and my sister, my younger sister. So it was 1993 or 1994, so I'm not sure. Um, we took our belongings and left the home when I was born. So when we went to my mother parents to live there.
Okay.
Since then, I don't have much connection with him. I saw him twice. It's not not happening. So
Okay. So
he,
father is literally in exile, like it's
a distant father, never
right.
been there, always like Sagittarian lifestyle, always on the road, always and actually it was my favorite and the best memories when he was taking me on the travels. He worked as a steward on the trains.
Mhm.
So how we call them in English? Stewardesses?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
plain
right,
stone.
right. So yeah, so I've seen lots of things. I've been introduced to adultery and parties since I was like 5, 6. So he was taking. I've seen the world since I was like baby.
Right.
So Moscow, St. Petersburg, Siberia. So and I still love smell of it, but it's about
Yeah.
that's all. That other than that, I always felt like if he's coming home, I knew it's gonna be drama. It's gonna be violence, uncontrollable blackouts, and I was pretty, but most of my life wishing him not coming back.
Yeah.
My mother tough, but she's we have connections still. If I met her, if I would meet her, she would be one of my best friends. So
Okay.
we like, maybe we disagree and kind of, have resentment, any children have.
Right.
But generally compared to my father, she was great mother,
Okay.
the survivor.
Yeah. Saturn in that decan can, make feeling nurtured a little bit difficult too. Like it can deny kind of that kind of home feeling of home as well, and that feeling of
It's
stability.
like emotional suppression, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of this, yeah, or I don't know. It's like all my stuff at fourth house of home will be eventually, probably I'll write the book about it because it still bothers me. I
Well,
don't think about it, but it's just like still there, like little. It reminds me the story, The Cell with Jennifer Lopez. When she goes traveled in the subconsciousness of psychopaths, she finds this little boy that kind of caged there. So it's my feelings with my father world there.
right.
So it's kind of that thing.
Well, and you do have one very nice mitigating factor here too, is this Jupiter is in an overcoming trine with that Saturn. So your ability to have hope, your ability to have optimism, Jupiter is in its own domicile. It's very strong here. This could help you to overcome some of those early, childhood traumas and
It
challenges.
as an antidepressant to stage parties, to be a party planner, entertain people. If you pay, I please you. Pleasure card, tarot card, right? Jupiter and Pisces, what we call
Right. Yeah.
pleasure or
Happiness.
happiness.
Yep.
So yeah, make you happy. Oh,
Right.
by the way, when I work as a massage therapist, you have to do sometimes happy endings. If
Right.
people don't know it, I'm telling you that it's happened in San Francisco. I travel around the country doing those things because what are you going to do? Girl has to pay her bills. So it's like happy endings on the many levels, from the art to the bodily fluids, I guess. So yeah.
Yeah. So
I think we cut it off that part for you don't ever use.
so well, it sounds like you've already lived, a very colorful life so far, right? And
That book will be called Happy Ending right away.
sure, sure. One thing I did want to point out with this position of Jupiter is that you are blessed in your ability. And this is one of the things that Austin talks about in his book, 36 Faces, is that you're being blessed in your ability to adapt, right? You have an adaptability to circumstances
I
that,
don't know. I have to. I don't
right,
know when you go with $150 to another country, you sleep on the couch with your school friend for 2 months, and then he says it's time to go.
right,
You just go to do all those jobs. You don't speak English. You have to do security jobs. It's a technically diverse, good and bad experiences. Jupiter
sure,
multiply whatever already doesn't have boundaries, right?
right,
So it's like until you find the perfect match as a regular job, you have to try all of it. So from the security guard, housekeeping, construction labor, the housekeeping, room service, hotel, Ritz-Carlton. I worked 3 years in the Ritz-Carlton. It's probably as well cancer stuff.
yeah,
Saturn and Cancer and Jupiter kind of sextile. So
hospitality,
yeah, like
yeah,
oh,
yeah,
you have money. I have songs for you.
sure,
So it's
excellent,
probably that thing, and it's in sextile to Sun and Moon, so it means it's reoccurring stuff. As soon as I change home, or
right,
what feels like a home will be different story what I would do for living or for career.
sure.
It
Well, and that, there is a couple fixed stars that are associated with this degree of Pisces as well that are in this area. One is called a Churnar, and that is the star that is at the end of the river, the Eridanus. And this is a really interesting fixed star that is associated with the myth of Phaethon. Are you familiar with that story, Phaethon?
Python.
So,
Python?
Phi-
Phaethon?
yeah, Phaethon, sure.
It's a
Uh,
chariot, like chariot.
yeah, yeah. So it's the son of Apollo or
Mhm.
Helios that wished to drive his chariot across the sky,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. Okay.
basically ended up losing control of the horses and through the chaos that ensued, he almost set the world on fire and was smote by Zeus, with a thunderbolt, and he fell from the sky and then he drowned in the river, the Eridanus. So there is some associations with floods and with fires with this position of this fixed star. There's also just crisis. This is kind of a crisis position. But since you have Jupiter here, this means that you may be able to turn crisis into some kind of thing that brings you honor and merit, like that you can adjust to crisis better than most. Does that make sense?
Yep. I succeed more. Now I have a very decent, nice, beautiful life.
Right.
Um, I have a partner, I have children, I have home. I'm the first time in my life since forever, I'm like most stable life, right?
Right.
Uh, Creative blockage because something needs to kick my ass, or I have to be kind of in exposed to the group of people. By the way, the astrology community, it's like was like antidepressant experience for me for 3 years, since was my kind of like um, um, how we call it, awakening experience. I don't want to
Sure.
use that thing because it's people already laughing at that. Kind of very middle age crisis, and I'm a Peter Pan, and I'm not gonna give up that thing.
Right.
As a
Right.
creative, it's your inner child, but it's more need to be right now after 44 when all that stuff happened to me. Um, I um, I started more introspectively develop my inner parent, which was like not available.
Well, and I think that is a really good testament to the using the Saturn that you have in your chart to develop that over time. I mean, I like to say that the chart offers us the problem and the solution. And like with Saturn denying like maybe one of your parents when you were younger, you have to learn how to become that for yourself over time to restore right proportion because Saturn was associated with nemesis, right? Which
Mhm.
would restore balance to the universe sometimes through difficult experiences. But since you can see that you have it in Cancer, that tells me that eventually, if you commit to it, you can create that for yourself, right? And this Jupiter is also on a fixed star called Anka, and that is in a constellation called the Phoenix. So there's also this resurrection theme associated with this area of the zodiac too. So sometimes by willingly, going through that death experience, it can lead to this beautiful rebirth, right? One thing I wanted to caution you though with the Python story is there is a little bit of uh, there's a cautionary tale there of not trying to overshoot the mark and trying to do too much. And that can be something that can be associated with this Jupiter position is, you know, uh, overestimating one's capacity to do something. So you have to be careful that you're not like, the offering that you have to give does not always have to be grandiose, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes you can be authentic and you can be in integrity by just offering what is true, through truth. Austin Coppock does talk about in this with this decan the story of Prometheus and Dolus, and Prometheus being a creator of man through clay or humanity through clay, and Dolus was his apprentice. So there is like some themes of like the sorcerer's apprentice in this with this decan, where Dolus, after Prometheus had been called away, Dolus tried to make a copy of the statue that Prometheus was making, but he ran out of clay and he wasn't able to finish, and he wasn't able to give the figure feet. So when Prometheus returned, he basically was like, oh, he was flattered that his apprentice would try to create a copy. So he put both figures in the kiln, and they became aletheia, which is truth, and pseudologos, which is falsehood. And it says that aletheia, the truth, can run and can sustain with its fully formed body, but pseudologos or falsehood will always fall short. It won't be able to run. It may be able to begin, but it won't be able to continue because of the lack of feet. And this is interesting because I wonder if this has some of the associations with Pisces and the feet.
Well, yeah, what comes to mind, my tendency to be a momager to my younger sister, who ended up 8 years doing competitive Latino American dance, ballroom dance competitions.
Mhm.
For my friend in San Francisco who ended up on RuPaul Drag Race.
Yeah.
So I was that moment who tied up everything and just do dirty work,
Sure.
and then get disappointed because my
Right.
sister stopped doing it because we didn't find scholarship for her continue to do adults, more like for adults competitions. The same thing with my friend drag queen who ended up on RuPaul Drag Race, who just didn't want to collaborate with them and decided to not continue to do with that network, and trying to do the same thing with my boyfriend and other people.
Yeah.
So I think it's just a constant like gray cardinal syndrome to not expose per se yourself on the stage, but be that, like, every performer has this creepy person who cut off push away the ass kissers. So it's my tendency to do that, even though they encourage me to be in front of the line because, oh, you're cute, you're doing it. But it's kind of always trigger me with my mother experiences, who was similar.
Right.
The Saras conjunct there. So my Saras, its mother, is like over mother stuff. So you just overdo and high expectation. Oh, you disappoint. Humans in the general disappoint. Oh, I am disappointed. I disappointed myself.
Sure.
So it's like high expectations, good dreaming, good dream, good like energy to do that. And then when something go off, I kind of, yeah.
Well,
That's when you were telling me the myth that's came to.
Well, and I think one of the keys with this can be to accept that physical reality, it's almost impossible to make it match the spiritual imaginings that we could have. Like with an expansive Jupiter and Pisces, you can imagine the world. You know what I'm saying? Your imagination is limitless. But part of the journey, I think, with this decan is to go on the imaginative journey but try to reconcile what is actually possible on the physical realm and be able to see, okay, I have this grandiose vision, but there are certain physical laws of nature that I have to follow, and there will always be some kind of disconnect between the vision and the form, and that's where we see the aletheia and pseudologos. But what this happiness is really referring to, it's like a
Matrix.
satisfaction. It's the matrix. It's the matrix. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You are 100% right. But I think that the thing that we are looking at here with this is that when we can like accept some of the flaws, I think that's when we get the sense of acceptance and the sense of happiness, right? When we can, are you familiar with the concept of Wabi-Sabi?
No.
Okay, so Wabi-Sabi is a Japanese art kind of I don't know, philosophy where they are appreciating the flaws, quote unquote, or the beauty of nature. So they will take like a piece of wood and fashion it into a table or something like that, but they'll sand it down to a certain level, but then they will leave some of the natural corners because
Mhm.
they are saying that nature can complete the rest of it, right? So there
Mhm.
is we're starting to see that beauty in nature to create and to finish something rather than thinking about, oh, we have to refine this to the point where we may destroy it, right?
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
But oh, okay. So it's but see, take something broken and put it together, kind of lesson to learn karmically.
That could be true. Yeah.
That's another. So it's like, okay, don't, not necessarily it's a broken, it's not like worthless. It's beauty in that damage.
Sure.
So when you embrace that stuff, but as we know that if Saturn involved sextile, that Jupiter, expensive Jupiter, so it relates to karma,
Right.
right? So then it's what you describe, that I have to go through that to develop some kind of virtue. What's
Definitely.
the virtue of it?
Well, and it's a journey. It's journey to figure out what you really believe in. You know, it's the journey for what is your animating principle, I think. And it's an internal one. A lot of the times we have to go on an exploration to be able to find meaning in our life. Like one of the things that I like to do is I use the Thema Mundi with the tarot, and Pisces is on the ninth house cusp of the Thema Mundi if we put Cancer on the ascendant. And that
Yeah.
ninth house is associated with those long distance, well, and I guess that's not really the word I want to use, those meaningful journeys. So the Hellenistic astrologers didn't necessarily think about it as physical distance. They thought about it as, are you going on a trip that is going to be outside of your normal routine to find meaning, because it was related to the actions that we take out in the world. So this Jupiter here is helping you to go on this search for meaning, okay, that is allowing you to take action in the world like Neo in the Matrix, because he's realizing the interplay between what he perceives as physical reality and the ability to bend the rules through spiritual consciousness, right?
Mhm.
So it's learning what is possible and learning that, oh, well, maybe we have more of these abilities to shape our reality. So this is kind of like you are a world creator with this on some level as well, you know. But the important thing is that when you are creating these worlds, when you are creating, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be the exact replica of your vision. You have to leave a little bit of space for like nature to complete the process, right? And that can lead you to a feeling of not feeling so much anxiety about whether the project is good or whether it isn't, you know, I don't know, whether you've achieved perfection or not, if that makes sense.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. To not lose my shit, to not get exactly how it is and just move forward. And if it's sometimes you fail, yeah, no, it's story of my life.
Yeah, and you can learn a lot from quote unquote failures too. I mean, sometimes it's just a different leg of the journey. A lot of the times what feels like a failure is the step that had to happen before the big breakthrough, you know?
Mhm.
And this is something that I'm seeing in the tarot that I did for you, the tarot pull, the three tarot cards, is that you may be heading for a breakthrough. I think that you are heading for I think something that could be very fortuitous in the future here. Um,
I have a question
sure.
about my sector Venus.
Hmm.
As we know, Venus is, you can get this green card, this luck, your look, whatever, attract to be attractive, but other side of it. So when the Venus in the fifth house, which is, she rejoices there, right?
That's right. That's her joy.
But this is the house ruled by great malefic, which is even in the worst condition, it's retrograde.
Right.
So when the Venus kind of in that position, and you choose to be this pretty person who attracts what not exactly what you need.
Mhm.
and go through all those like good and bad experiences like a magnet receive. Um, I've been exposed to tarot astrology through my friend while back in Ukraine. And
Mhm.
it only was my best friend who's still doing it. But for me then, it was just like, oh, it's just product of the beautiful imagination. It's just artistic expression. Mythology, it's more of a like ancient psychology. It's nothing to do with nothing to do with what? With real stuff,
Mhm.
right? As we know, like this material plane, the solids. Um, when based on my chart, Venus start being wise, when it attracts something and you be able to recognize what's good for you, not per se pleasant, but soul development.
Mhm.
When we see those things in what age and which planet involved in it in general, and like in my situation, when finally I calm my kids down and already that's what I want to do, because the cardinal people like the Libra, Cancer, Capricorn, Aries, they are initiatory, right? We start stuff and then we don't know how to get out of it. So
Sure.
because all these 15 years of my American journey, my mother would kill for that. My friends don't understand when I start talking about that. I want to go back. I have the moments.
Right.
So what am I gonna do with it? It's gonna be book. It's gonna be I'm not asking you, but this is my process of asking what am I gonna do with it,
Right.
because for now i I feel that it's like it started being repetitive in the United States. It's like, okay, it was all new, you learn something, and now I can do whatever I'm doing right now in Ukraine and it would be cheaper.
Sure.
So, but a sense of mission, Sun and Moon and Capricorn, never leave me alone. It's always will be, it meant to be to send me over the seas to learn something, squeeze as much as I can, and go back, or to stay there forever with building legacy and give the good fortune for my younger generation of my family, so that they will put the order on my chest, which is I wanted for myself when I was like 18, when my father threw me on the street. So it's like, I want to meet somebody like guru, teacher, parental figure, or instinctually or consciously going all this educations, medical college, 4 years of medical college, 4 years of art school, training with Contemporary Art Center, George Soros Foundation when I was affiliated through my 20s. So it's constantly, I was craving to meet people, but I never felt that it always was a partners, like brotherhood, but never somebody that I could look up to. Instead of it's David Bowie and Madonna, like some of the big stars, which is, it's a legacy. Not because they're famous. I don't feel comfortable famous, and I feel like I dodged the bullet with my business
Yeah.
to not become that like even crazy people following you. And I was very close there. I was involved in that world.
Well, I have some thoughts on this because you have this is your ascendant helm. So this planet is what is steering the ship of your ascendant, right?
Yeah,
And
staring, still,
it's the,
still.
it's the steering wheel. And so just to piggyback off a couple things that you said there. So first of all, Venus in the first decan of Aquarius, it has an ability to take things that are discarded and find the beauty in what was rejected. Okay. So you
Oh,
may have
it's my dogs.
yeah. So you may
It's my
have
dogs. This is my children.
yeah, you can create like beauty from things that people would normally reject, right? And this you're talking about legacy. So the fifth house actually is associated with what happens after death as well. So if you look at primary motion, the fifth house is the succeedent house to the fourth house angle. So if we think about fourth as potentially being in the underworld, and what is happening at your death. The fifth house is what happens after your death. So there may be something that's driving you to create something that lives beyond yourself, that is something that you can leave as a gift, right, for future generations. And it doesn't necessarily have to be physical children. It could just be like the world is are your children to a certain degree. And we see this a lot with Venus in Aquarius, is like there's an attraction to, there's almost like a, oh, I don't know, um like an objectivity about what you love. Your love is not always given to one person, it's given to almost humanity as a whole. There's like an idealism associated with it. There is this kind of like detachment as well associated with that position, right?
I would feel like it's a perfectionism, like the black swan. I just want to be perfect.
Right.
And it's very unsettling feeling. It's this Venus never will be satisfied in heaven.
Right.
So constant this junkie for experiences and like validation or whatever Venus need to be. Love me, but perfect. What's the perfect love? I don't know. So right now I have a great family. The part like I don't want to brag, but something bothering me. I want to go on a conquest. I want to go on again on some kind of stuff. But I think if the Venus in the Aries sign in Aquarius, and especially what we're going through right now, it doesn't have to be tangible and it doesn't have to be anymore, because 5 years doing tangible stuff. And the fashion, what I learned in college, it's one of the toxic industries.
Sure.
So, and I learned that I'm not passionate about it. I like me costume, I like the party, I like the editorial stuff, films and culture. I'm cultural junkie and all that stuff. But for now, I feel like you don't need to produce more tangible stuff anymore. It's more of ideas and the beauty of relationships, the beauty of the intellect.
Totally.
And Venus probably in dry Aries sign like Aquarius, it's probably like attraction to the smart people, like sexual attraction to the always like big foreheaded glass people with big starry smart piercing eyes with like articulated yes. And especially like I assume Mercury conjunct. So who's more strong, rational or Venusian in like receptivity? It's just confusing for me as well.
Yeah, that's a good question, because you have both of those influences,
Do
combined.
you have the answer?
I mean, I think that combination can lend, a gracefulness to the way that you communicate with people. And
Oh,
I think that you have an ability to communicate with people of all walks of life. You know what I'm saying? Like,
but communicate with people, it's more Gemini. I think it's you like can talk to like devil, you can make a deal, right?
right.
But when it's perfectionist, it's like probably all pictorial stuff. It's not per se verbal, or maybe music,
Hmm.
maybe visual, but I don't know.
Are you a
But
musician
like
as well?
people, every time I try, it's never disciplined enough. Because what most meditative task, artistic like sculpting or drawing, require less premeditation and more instinctual. Right away you draw it, you sketch it, you sculpt it, drape it. But when it require like hours and hours, and Callis is here, I have a guitar.
Yeah.
And every time I start, it's like boring to me to do that thing. But I'm sure if it would be part of the group, which is I try to involve myself in my past, it didn't happen. Or discipline, or just not compatibility with other members.
Sure.
So, but singing, I have a nice singing voice and I have decent ears, not like violinists, because you have to just do this like very. And I remember when I was like 7, we have the hello, we're looking for the talents when adults come into your school to check you. And I was very deprived probably, and I already was in all type of theater stuff. Always, oh, cute kid who like good on the stage, and this old grumpy stinky alcoholic uh, dude was like, okay, do, re, mi, fa, and very quick. And I probably lied because I was nervous. I'm like, no, he's not good. And that gave me for like good 5 years, not even dream about it. Because I'm like, I want to play guitar, piano, and violin. He's like, you don't have ears. He was very like
Yeah.
my Saturn probably. And the similar situation was when I did all those like 3 years in a row auditions in Moscow and St. Petersburg, doing auditions for like actor. So you go in like 3, 4, 5 auditions per day. It's summertime usually. They usually do them at summertime. It's like Moscow, it's not pleasant, comfortable city.
Yeah.
So you just go there, you do out of body experiences. I remember you do monologue, 15 minutes, like 5 minutes, no, 10 minutes monologue, and then you just like, oh, I'm done. And they like, good job. I don't remember that because I was so nervous over on autopilot kind of stuff. And then you go there and they don't put you on the list and they give you feedback that you look like your face like 35 years old man, but twink body, like harsh criticism.
Sure.
And you do it to yourself, right?
Yeah.
So music, acting was in my life, but I, especially music was less involved. I was less involved in those projects because it required this Virgoing, sitting alone and doing on your own,
Right.
and never happened. Maybe when I will be 75 with my like, I don't feel anything anymore. Maybe I'll get there, but probably I will replace my shoulders and like, I don't know. Yeah, music it's my biggest passion to receive but not express.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Uh,
interesting. I was just curious about that with your moon sitting on that fixed star Vega, like that would be.
It's love, and especially Vesta there. I love instinctually. If you put me in any set to zhuzh up stuff, like home decorating, or make it ergonomic and pretty, or drape something, or sketch, or draw like a three-dimensional object to make them flat, or flat to make them. So I have this Photoshop there, but Venus and Mercury, it's not musical. Otherwise, probably I would be in the water sign. Usually, like, the best lyricists like Lana Del Rey or Nirvana, Kurt Cobain, they have it in water sign, in a Pisces. That's
I think this combination probably lends you a lot of skill about seeing how all the pieces of something could fit together. Like you could take like a helicopter view over a project and see how this.
astrology.
Well, there you go. Perfect. Perfect.
That's why I love it. It's like, oh, you don't need anyone. You have all production, all actors there, and like many different archetypes is your situation. You just do merging stuff like your palitra painting stuff, and then you're merging that stuff, and it's like music, mechanism musical, but it's not the melody like music, but it's just information.
Right.
This is it. Yeah.
Totally. And you've got Pluto really in a fairly close conjunction with your ascendant as well, and that one has an interesting fixed star associated with that placement. It's called Diadem, and that is called. I thought this was funny when I was doing the notes for your reading. That's called a woman's crown. So it was her hair. So the story of Coma Berenices is she was the wife of a pharaoh that went off to war, and she was praying to Aphrodite to have her husband return from war, and she sacrificed her hair. She cut her hair off and sacrificed it on the altar of Aphrodite, and that ensured the safe return of her husband from being out in this world.
Symbolically, what's the hair? It's the information.
um yeah, I mean, it is associated with that crown chakra. I mean, it was, I guess, in the ancient world, it was sacrificing adornments, right? Because if, it wasn't as socially acceptable for like a woman to have short hair back in, these
Mhm.
ancient times when these stories were crafted. So that was something that they really gave up, giving up your beauty, your adornment for the family. So there is a theme with this Pluto where you have given something up that was meaningful for the sake of your family and for the sake of your community or something like that, like a willing
Familia,
sacrifice. Yeah.
Cosa Nostra.
Well, and that sounds a
Um,
little bit of like your story when you were telling me about how you grew up and some themes with that as well.
but if Pluto in retrograde, it's kind of like in the progress chart when I watched it, it's will be always retrograde. All my retrogrades, and they go opposite direction than most of the planets. So they kind of like want to go to the Virgo side, Pluto.
Right.
Saturn want to go toward Gemini.
Well,
Does it mean something?
I just thought it was so amazing that you literally make ornate crowns for people to wear.
The first headdress I ever done 6 months prior. That's the beginning of my costumer, and I'm not passionate about it. What happened?
Yeah.
Then my Los Angeles boyfriend decided to be a drag queen again because I did it already before. He decided if I can't do it to my friend in San Francisco, he want to do it as well. So we moved to West Hollywood, and it was 6 months before the premiere of Maleficent.
Oh, nice.
So I'm literally worship the freaking horny creature doing this thing. What happened? He's like, oh, I saw they already promoting Maleficent. It's on every big board. Can we do it for me? I'm like, I've never done costumes before, any headdress. So I've made it, and it was good. And he started performing, and drag queens started asking. So I started putting on the Etsy, Amazon, eBay, Amazon.
So
So that I created.
You made the Maleficent
I
horns.
did Maleficent, and then after later I did Maleficent for Michael Strahan for Golden Globe when he does this speech
Nice.
with Joe, like sketch when she's sitting there, and he's like, "Oh, dress up like Maleficent."
Right.
So I probably have done over 1,000 only Maleficent in all colors, the red, silver, whatever, stick of it. So
Yeah.
my biggest mistake then was not hiring people and do everything on my own. So it was on my body big time. So I stopped performing. I stopped being like physically take care of myself. I just started like literally 5 years in a row desperately to pay bills because LA was horrible experience. Compared to San Francisco, I still like dream about it to go back, but
Right.
it's not the same San Francisco anymore. So then it was just very like symbolic for me, like Maleficent hat piece that I've done, and it's very Plutonian. She's very like demonic kind of. Yeah.
Did so just so I'm understanding, did you make the headpiece for the movie or just for the drag
No,
queen?
no.
Okay.
The movie already was shot
Okay,
in
gotcha.
production for 6 months before. No. Oh,
Okay.
no. Hell no. Right now, probably I have before I went to the college,
Yeah.
I kind of rejected several very good but very stressful opportunities. And like I wish you asked me several years ago when I was healthy and younger.
Yeah.
Now I'm done with it. I'm going to school to learn how to tell other people what needs to be.
I've seen pictures of your headdresses though. They're amazing. Like they're definitely works of art. So I think that they're very cool.
I don't care anymore.
Well,
If
there's
you
always
want, I'll teach you. I will sit next to it. Says, but no,
there's always a season for things, right?
No.
Just because we did one thing doesn't mean we have to do it forever.
Now I want to do something as far as I can go in a sketching, something like working on the production project, stuff like that. I can. Well, we have time. I can show you how I do stuff.
Yeah. I think there's only one traditional planet that we haven't really touched on in your chart, and that's your Mars. And your Mars is associated with the Ten of Wands. So this is speaks to having an energy level where you are able to carry great burdens, over great distances. So this may be where you have a lot of courage to take on responsibilities that other people might not. That there is a completion energy with this. This is the last decan before the winter solstice, the return of the light. So it's kind of like a drive to complete things. Like, so are you pretty good at finishing things? Is that something that drives you?
Uh, it depends on. I will never feel like I finish it. Like, for
Yeah.
example, my 5 years of career, I feel like a waste of energy and time.
Yeah. Well,
So,
is it hard
yeah,
for you to stop working at times?
yeah, it usually happens like 16 hours in a row, 3 days in a row, and then I'm sick.
Yeah, right. There you
Yeah.
go.
And it sometimes it's compulsive as well. Sometimes it's just like I can't enjoy right now our dinner because I didn't finish the book, the project, the exercise, the stuff like, or like whatever task I do. Now I'm literally talking to myself. This is it.
Yep.
That you need to do it and get over yourself.
Yep.
So and how it relates to my sister, because when we were younger we fight a lot. So we
Yeah.
like physically was very,
Yeah.
and she has moon in Aries.
Oh wow. Yeah.
So
So yeah, Mars in that
Chiron,
siblings
then yeah,
house.
now we love each other. She has amazing kids. She's a great mother. Still, I kind of find she would be amazing performer. She's beautiful. She was winner of those competitions. She's very like Madonna like. And
Right.
I was always like was fascinated, like look up to those very strong showgirls.
Yeah,
And
Mars is in an overcoming square to Jupiter too, so there is some tension there with maybe sibling, but yeah,
used to be, no, right now, not. Mm-mm.
it sounds
I'm
like it's
like
gotten better
try
though.
to help financially. I know if something happens to mothers, I know that I'm gonna go. It doesn't matter if it would be like
Right.
pandemic or whatever.
Totally. All right. So, questions so far? How you feeling? Feeling pretty good?
Oh, it's a lot of, well, let me see. What about Neptune conjuncting North Node? Let's talk about junkie, my junkie part. 1 second, my dog, get out. Come on, Nate. So it's about this glamorizer that
Yeah, I
literally
mean, that
came.
is a north node that is very close to the fixed star Antares. So, the heart of the scorpion in Scorpio. So there is some themes of intensity, of passion. There is a nemesis to avoid is being too intense sometimes. So that this could be something that increases your intensity. The North Node is a point of increase. It's a point of desire that maybe is insatiable on some level. So we may be increasing that Neptunian type of desire to transcend physical reality and to merge with divine consciousness, or to, I don't know. Robert Schmidt has a really interesting take on Neptune, that it's like a transcendental moon. It's substance that is not infused with anything. It's just like universal substance. So it may be this desire to dissolve completely like ego death, right? So that could be something that is increased with the North Node conjoining Neptune.
So
Um,
this is my neighborhood brotherhood and what I do with my peers and what I communicate. And no, a South Node in Gemini. This is whole my American journey,
right.
right?
Yeah, that's on Aldebaran, so that's the eye of the bull. So you had maybe some old things that you are resolving through this journey, through the
Who,
long distance travel.
who I owe something in the United States.
Potentially, maybe. I mean, you could also think of this as the severed body of a dragon that is processing something and is digesting something.
Mhm.
So it is maybe this is an experience that just needed to be digested over time and released. It could be something that, you came here to release your past, or to release something that um, had been plaguing you, or it could be to heal. There could be a
Mhm.
healing involved with it too. Like in Eastern culture, the South Node was thought of more positively than the North Node, because the ultimate goal was to connect with the divine, and by releasing attachment to material reality, it brought you closer to divinity. So this journey may ultimately be bringing you closer to your divine higher self.
But does it mean that if I am dark moon, new moon,
Mhm.
is a new moon considered, right? Even if it's how much
I
six,
I would
seven
I would consider it a dark moon, but that's just me. The
dark
other
moon. Okay,
people, yeah.
okay, we know those people. So if it's a full circle, you have to do karmically, right?
Right.
So you have to go astray far away from your karmic purpose and then realize. So since my progressed moon, I'm right now in a position. So this is I hit my rock bottom. Now I'm coming home, whatever it means.
Yeah, you are in a progressed full moon phase. I saw that when I
So
was.
it's a junky kind of like most uncomfortable. My purpose there, but my environments are completely feels different.
Yeah,
So I
you.
want to go there for follow my sun, but so I want to be sacrificial Piscean sun in sixth house of service, but my moon says sit at home in Altadena and babysit everybody.
Yeah.
Um, so, but hope there. So Libra coming home to the first house, right?
Yeah, that should, once that progressed moon moves into the first, that should probably feel like maybe a weight has been lifted off your shoulder, or like you said, like a coming home, but the home being more about your own personal,
External. Yeah,
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 internal experience, right?
yeah. A
Um,
feeling of it. Yeah.
Definitely. So you're
Uh,
releasing some of that old baggage through there, and you know, third deck in Virgo is about creating a legacy and about what stays and what goes.
what if I will not do that? Will I be punished?
I don't think so. I think that you know, on some level, life is what we make of it, and the only people that are really punishing us is ourselves. So I think that
Mhm.
if you may feel that you need to punish yourself if you don't achieve a goal that you've set for yourself, but
Sun, Moon, and
um,
Capricorn always.
yeah, so I think that that's one thing to recognize, is a lot of the times we can create our suffering by the expectations and the stories that we tell ourselves, and we can shift that through releasing the old narrative and creating a new one. But there's definitely circumstances that come to us that are outside of our control, though, and that is a truth as well. And I think that we get to choose to respond how we're going to react, and that creates our character, right? The way that we respond creates our character and who we are.
Mhm.
We always get to choose the events in our life, though. I don't believe that. I think that some of the things we can help co-create, but I don't think that we always get to choose all of the experiences.
But doesn't matter for primordials. I'm
What's
like,
that?
you fail, or you win, whatever you think needs to be done for karma, or when you come back to your whole state.
Right. Yeah, I mean, my astrology teacher and your astrology teacher, Chutabava, talks about that karma is kind of a. I mean, he's more of an expert on that than me, but from what I understand, he says that they're like arrows that have been shot in past lives. They're arrows that you're shooting now that are creating things for future lives. It's kind of like you're receiving some of the things that may have happened in the past, but you're also creating things that will live on into the future. So I think it's both that we're experiencing with our charts and with our lives here, and we just have to kind of resolve the old stuff and make sure that we're not creating new challenges if we reincarnate or come back around again.
No, no. I feel like I've read somewhere like 11. If you were born 11th, I'm January 11th. If you're 11th, it's like old soul.
Maybe.
no, I'm so open. No, I don't know. I don't feel like,
You don't want to come back.
no, 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 no.
I got
I don't mind to die. I just don't want to suffer. That's all.
sure.
So and never be again. I want to fall asleep. I wish all of us to die in the bed, or to make a business to put people in coma, for the not coma, like when somebody want to die. You know what I mean? And comfort and joy surrounded by those who they want and how they want.
Well, and
Yes.
if you believe the myth of in Greek mythology, you know, we have to, I guess, drink from that river of forgetfulness, and we won't remember if we come back anyway. So you could take some solace in that
I
potential.
will remember there, but please don't send. Please, guardian angels, whoever you are, please don't send me here. I will remember and repeat you and repeat everything. I will remember, but I don't want to go back.
All right.
So
So I've got just a couple other things for you here. I like to be integrative in the way that I do my divinatory practices. Um, so I did a couple things. I pulled a 3-card tarot for you for past, present, and future, and I did an I Ching reading. Also, chose an animal spirit for you today, like at random.
let me guess what it can be.
Sure.
For some reason, snake come to me, but it's okay. Probably some kind of pig.
It was the panda, so I thought that was interesting.
Panda. Oh,
Yeah.
it's like my
Do you,
baby.
do you have pandas in your environment there at all?
Yeah, I have this one over there. You probably saw it. Did you
Yeah.
see that my little puppy?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a new one. I recently adopted, rescued, not like
Sure.
even.
Well,
Yeah.
some of the symbolism associated with the panda is solitude and learning to slow down. The panda bear takes life at its own pace. It doesn't force the river. It only does that which it can sustain. So, you know, if you're experiencing any type of emotional upheaval, you can return to your equilibrium and your center through accepting that this might be a period of solitude. This might be a period of, you know, having to be patient with the process as you go through it. Um, this was a theme that came up with the I Ching reading as well. The I Ching that I got for you was resolution or deciding. So what I'll do is I'll draw it for you. So every reading that I do, I ask what message does my client need to hear from me today? What is the most important thing that I can tell them? And here,
Wow. Oh my God. The all straight, only one broken one?
there you go, 43 to 33. So this is resolution or breakthrough. And
Spencer, quick question.
sure.
Can you recommend the best for like entering in the world of the I Ching? What's the best book? Like first one?
That is a good question because I have multiple ones.
No, no, no. What I have to start because I never touched the subject.
You know, I started with a book called The Illustrated I Ching by R.L. Wing, but there,
R.L. Wing.
but there's a book that Achuta recommended that I really like that is called it's by a woman named Hilary Barrett, and I'm trying to figure out what it's called here. I'll look this up for you real quick.
Oh,
Um,
almost forgot to ask you. I wanted.
so this is I Ching Walking Your Path by Hilary Barrett.
Okay.
And I really like that one as well. And I like the fact that she asks questions. So she doesn't just tell you you have to do this or whatnot. She asks these great Socratic method questions. So like for resolution, she asks, what do you stand for? How do you define yourself? What belongs in your realm and where do you need to make a clean break? Okay, so these are questions like to meditate on when you're thinking about that hexagram. Now, you do have a few changing lines in your hexagram. There's actually 3. I don't know why I just did 2 here. Hold on a second. Yeah, there's 2 changing lines at the bottom as well. Okay. So,
Okay, not that bad. I'm
sorry.
like,
Yeah.
wow,
Yeah.
like,
So,
oh, cement. Time
so you,
to like.
Right. So you do
Eat
have,
them and muscular rebar.
yeah. So you do have three changing lines. So it is a fluid situation. Line one says vigor in the leading foot. It talks about going on. Oh, let me see here. I had some really good notes about this. Um, says going on without control means making mistakes. It says that you are eager to prove yourself and bring change, but the timing is not quite right yet. So this, I think, comes together with that story of the Phaethon and the Eurydanis, where you may be just trying to initiate something new. And there are always difficult beginnings when we are initiating something new. There's always obstacles that we have to overcome. There are uh, different seasons for our life and for our projects. And just like as good gardeners, we can't overwater something, or we can't like yell at a plant to make it grow or something, you know.
Go back to college again for another
Right,
3 years and just don't start.
well, but maybe that's part of your process though. Like maybe going back to college was not a mistake. Maybe it was part of the new beginning that you are
But I
trying
don't
to do.
remember anything. I only
Well,
have overburn system and like body, aging body.
sure. What was the program of study that you did?
So 3 years ago, it was a late trade tech. I studied fashion production. So they taught me how to sketch. There were all that like for how to do production for fashion shows.
Right.
From the beginning to the end through the business and everything, which is good. Which is
Right.
it's business savvy, but I'm not gonna do that right now for sure. Then I switched to digital multimedia digital, like Photoshop. They teach you to do that thing. And I said like it's too dorky nerdy. It's like I can't stare for 16 hours in the computer doing those tweaking that I can do by hands. So then I switched to psychology,
Right.
and after two semester of psychology, I said like I'm not a scientist.
Yeah.
Lots of math and like statistics. Give me a break.
Right.
And then right now I'm on art program, film, television, and radio, which is
Okay.
closest as far because I knew already by myself those things.
Well,
And
so
it's
so
fun.
going through that process by determining what it is that you were
Yeah,
not, it will help you to get closer to what you are. You know, and I
yeah.
think that's part of that process is, you know,
What a
having
lesson for Venus to learn to listen other people.
sure, that could be it too. There's a few other changing lines with this too. Line two says alarmed. There is a calling out evening and night, bearing arms, do not fear. So this talks about there is a call for change in your life that has happened, and that you may be on guard against some possible threats, that you're at like kind of on a level of high alert, I guess, and that you know there
Money,
is what's that?
money, how I'm going to continue to do my money. Old ways, massage therapy,
Right.
uh, just paid my loan for massage school. And now I'm like involve myself in that thing. And I'm
Right.
running out of college money.
Yeah.
Before there's a full time, they paid me and I was a lister student.
Right. So
So,
that could be part of the thing that's keeping you like maybe a little bit of anxiety, but keeping you alert that you are, you know, that there is some bills coming due, right? That you
but
need to
we
take
all
care of.
going through that right now.
Sure, of course.
Just like everybody, people lost businesses. I didn't lose anything.
And
Only
then
again experiences.
well, and you know, we're going through a difficult time as a society right now, like you say. Like
Yeah.
it's a real
Not complaining. I just don't want to start something off the cycle.
sure.
That's why I just need your help.
So the line six says, not calling out in the end pitfall. It says to call out with your truth. Be careful of suppressing yourself out of fear. So maybe there is something where you feel like you may be holding back and not pursuing something uh, in the way that you could. And that's changing to number 33, which is called retreat or withdraw. So the questions that come up with that says, what must you do to stay safe and whole? How can you change your relationships so that they support your integrity? Retreating creates success. Constancy yields a small harvest. So this is about moving away from a threat. So if there's something that you feel that is threatening you, it's not about engaging in it with battle. It's about kind of how can you go back into your center, and how can you move away from the immediate threat so that you can get clear on what you want to do. It's not necessarily a defeat. Like, think about an army that is faced with, like, being
More,
outnumbered.
more
What's that?
strategy, more strategy, less tactics,
There
right?
you go. So it could be a temporary retreat. So maybe by going into your solitude like Panda and being patient with the process, it's not that you're giving up on your dream. It's that you're giving yourself some more time to process, to be able to come out unfolding with something that is much more in alignment with the true you, rather than something that could be a compromise that eventually you won't be satisfied with. Does that make
Mhm.
sense?
Yeah.
And to wrap this up, there was a 3-card tarot spread. In the past, you got the Fool. so this
Yeah,
was
potential.
this
Yeah,
was so
she
this is
got
just,
potential.
you just leaped into the unknown. You moved
You-
countries. You
you-
had this like optimism, maybe even a naivete, right? But that's part of your gift with Jupiter and Pisces is having faith that something that you're going to land on your feet, right? And the current card that you got was the Queen of Wands reversed. So this
Oh
is
yes, my fiery girlfriends, the best
there you go.
friends who taught me bad things.
Yeah, but this card, if you look up in Benabel One's book, you have it. It talks about capitulation, about yielding to others, where we
I
may
don't
we
want to
may
start anything alone. That's like I've done it.
right.
No, I
So
need my team, my peeps, my team. Yeah.
well, and this card talks about maybe being slightly passive, right? Passivity and being afraid to confront. Um, I wrote down that there may be a domineering female figure in your life, okay, that you need to kind of come to terms with. And Benabel says, my power of attraction and easy confidence will be the way that I materialize my goals. With a genuine smile, I win them over, right? So you just have to keep
Be,
smiling.
just be pretty.
Yes, that's right. Just keep being your good positive self. And then I got the 2 of Wands for you as your future, which I feel is
Oh, it's a good one.
it's a good one. It's a positive card, right? So this is about accomplishment, aspiration, artistic
A
success,
partnership with soulmates.
right? Being able to create your own world. So I feel like you are skilled at world creation. Like you can, like Neo in the Matrix, you're able to manipulate reality around you to be able to create the type of reality that you want to live. Okay. So she says, to achieve greatness, I venture far from what I once knew. I surpass the past and begin on a path of conquest and triumph. So I think if you're just patient with the process, you're going to have the success that you're seeking. I feel like it's coming. You just have to get clear on, is what you are pursuing in alignment with your integrity? Is it realistic, right? It doesn't mean that you have to consolidate right away. At the begin, I think the way that a lot of people go is in the beginning phases of a vision, the vision becomes bigger, right? And then the vision will go through a contraction phase and maybe another smaller expansion. And then there's this push and this pull to where you get the right mix of what you want to happen and what is possible to happen. And then that's when manifestation can really come together. Does that make sense?
So the progressive full moon, it says, whatever you in the physical three-dimensional world heard or benefited and learn, it will be great palitra painting for the something non-tangible, whatever closer to the source that you can sit home as a Virgo moon and do your whatever you want, memories reflect.
Yeah, it's important for you to infuse your spiritual vision into material form right now, whatever form that takes, right? You are, and I've seen you do it. I've looked at your Instagrams. You've been successful doing that in the past.
It's 3 years ago. Since then I haven't done anything. It's like still old work popping up. They tag me. I'm like, oh, my old project I've done 5 years. Suddenly they print it on the magazine. I'm like, oh, okay, nice. And people think I'm still doing that stuff.
Well,
But I want a rebranding. I want to complete. If somebody know, hook me up. Let me know. I pay those people who know how to rebrand to keep my 26,000 followers there, so I can do astrology and esoteric art.
well, and
So
so here is your progressed sun right now, first deck in Pisces.
five,
See, you know what this is? This is your
Look,
26,000 followers on Instagram that you're leaving behind to go off into the wilderness to find new meaning,
yeah,
right? This is leaving the material success that you've already accomplished behind so that you can go off and find something that is more in alignment with your soul. And it doesn't mean that you have to completely abandon it forever, but what you're doing right now is searching for an animating purpose that is going to bring you satisfaction. And that is, sometimes that takes time. I think that's really the key, is how can you be patient with the process and really get in touch with that inner drive and not be distracted by the potential external validation and rewards. Does that make sense? Because that's something that I've been going through the last few months as well, is how
my
can I
performer fellow, yeah.
totally yeah, I'm a performer also, and I've had to learn to shift and you know get that validation from, did I do a good job versus did I get the applause. And I think that is something that I've really had to struggle with over a period of time, but I'm starting to feel better about it. Doesn't mean I don't scroll through my videos and see if people liked it or not. That's human nature in
It's the memories. No, no,
yeah,
no. It's yeah.
in the 21st century. That is, the reality we're
It's a
living in.
blessing and curse. Yeah.
That's right. But yeah, I
So
think
enjoy
you're on your
more
way.
process than out.
Yes, enjoying the process
Yeah.
and not feeling the need to force the process to go faster, because I think that you will arrive right on time. And it may feel like the world is passing you by, but I don't think that that's true. I think that what is revealed, if you allow it to cook a little longer, may be of better quality than if you were to serve it to the world before it was fully cooked,
Yeah.
right? And that's, just to give you another way of thinking about this, you're in an 11th house perfection right now with
And
this,
where they are, where they
right?
are virtual.
So your sun is in the 4th house, so you're going down to your roots and figuring out, what do I really believe, what is it that I am animating here, what do I want to
With
do.
real friends,
Yeah.
maybe.
Well, and then you're going to move into your 12th house perfection next year, and that's going to be, Mercury's going to
Somebody's gonna die, right?
no, no, it's not gonna die. But something may die, like not necessarily a physical thing. Maybe it's the death of an idea, a death of an old narrative. This may be the gestation period before that new rebirth that's going to be happening when you hit that 1st house perfection. So I think that if you go through and you allow yourself to grow in the safety of the womb of your consciousness and work on your skill set, once you reveal that to the world, it's going to be something of great value, you know? And this is,
College again.
well, it doesn't have to be college. Maybe it's continuing your studies with Achuta. Like I've been studying with him for about 3 years now. And that's, man, he's changed my worldview quite a bit. And if I had started doing things like 6 months after working with him, it would not have been as fully cooked as a lot of the things that I'm doing now. Does that make sense?
I did little, it's not mistake. I just was all over the place when I took his class. At that moment, I already have Chris Brennan triple thing
Sure.
packaging, but I like Akuta as well so much, and I wanted to support him, and it was great timing for me. So I took it, and I'm not following second year. Hopefully he will record and it will be available and like digital, that you don't have to. I'm not the class person. When like a bunch of strangers talk over each other, it's not like we're at the same time we see each other, and maybe eventually it will be like
Right.
that. I'm okay to just purchase class, take on your pass. So I have that one, and I'm taking right now Rick Levine for Astro Hub.
Nice.
So so I'm like kind of like Hellenistic ancient
Yeah.
Sun Moon Capricorn. I like primordial, start from the base, and whatever, like right now all those amazing archetypes for modern astrology with like.
Well, and there's so much great material and great teachers out there right now that you don't have to necessarily follow one particular, form. You can kind of mix and match and do what will serve you the best. I mean, I've been just buying books like crazy, so I like doing stuff just by reading and stuff too. Like, yeah, classes are good, but it's not always for everyone. I sometimes like I learn more just from reading my book than sitting through class, but sometimes class can help me to organize my thoughts. And if I have a question, I can get clarity on something. But there's all sorts of ways. I mean, I like to teach on my channel too. So there's been some people that have been telling me they've been learning things just through watching my transit videos. And, um, so there's all sorts of ways to kind of absorb astrological information. And you were doing that with Chris Brennan stuff too. Like even just listening to his podcast, man, there's all sorts of great education.
Well, if to be honest, if Chris Brennan was available for me earlier, I would take him because he brought me to this world.
Sure.
It was randomly, I was sketching, doing something like suddenly like, what? And on YouTube, but you know how algorithm works, when you one video ends another, and it was kind of linked because, that time I took 3 months class with Mitch Horowitz, Secret Teachings of All Ages.
Nice.
I read the book when I was an almost kid teenager in the Russian, and I decided to take in English again.
Yeah.
So that completely was a different book. And that was the pivotal moment that linked to Chris Brennan. And I read his book. I started like listening religiously his podcast stuff, introduced me to Austin Topak and Kelly Surtees. That was my holy trinity at the beginning.
Right.
And then was a tutor already much later. And he's like, I'm doing class and very flexible with payments and everything. And like, and I start like as a Pluto ascendant, I investigate. I will go through everything.
Totally.
So it's like I wanted to investigate pictorial tarot for my future project and end up like full-on astrologer.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So,
well, keep going, man. Keep going. Keep
too,
going on the journey.
I really appreciate your work as well, because you found the stuff that other people don't do, or one does this, you just found your stuff that very close to me, that how I process stuff, combining like archetypical psychology with mythology,
right,
and old techniques, and don't deny the new one. So
I love the stories. I love the stories. I'm a storyteller. When I was a musician, I would, a song was too short of a medium for me because I wanted to tell these great epic tales. And like, so now I can be that storyteller. And, I will say that when I first started studying traditional astrology, my worldview shrunk a little bit. And then as I've gotten more in depth in my understanding of ancient philosophy, it started to expand again. Like I was kind of a stickler for like what technique is the right technique. And as I started reading things about the daimon and like Jeffrey Cornelius, it really opened my mind back up to see that spirit can speak to you in multiple different radio channels, right? And I think that sometimes when we combine these systems, and we have to be careful that we're not totally conflating things in a destructive way, but when we're combining things, we can get almost like confirmation from these different systems, because you could see themes that were coming up in the I Ching, that were coming up in your natal chart, that were coming up in the tarot spread. I mean, it's, to me, that is the coolest part of this, is seeing all the things that unify through all of the different kind of divinatory systems. There was an astrologer one time that said that follow the rule of threes. If you're seeing it in 3 different confirmations, then you'll found a truth. So I do that with techniques. I'll use 3 or 4 different techniques to get confirmation on the essence and try to bring that essence to the light.
So now my fascination to understand the internal mechanism, how it was created. Yeah,
that's a good question. we can spend hours trying to unpack that.
Maybe artificial intelligence figure that out at some point. One good thing may happen from it. So
sure.
Yeah. Well, you see, waiting for me
Yeah.
for 3 years of like my research now.
Perfect. Perfect. I mean,
Uh,
I think we all
I,
have a lifetime of books on our shelves at this
yep,
point.
never will be bored. Never.
That's right.
That thing I took out and I don't have to even leave my house, which is
Right.
scary, but kind of on those circumstances, we're going to. I don't even know if astrology books, internet wouldn't be right now. Poor Americans would go rough time like my country went in 90s when all system fell apart very dramatically. Like, literally, people woke up like, "Oh, I had $5,000 on my bank account. Now it's $5,
Oh yeah.
like 5 ruble." You know what I mean?
Totally.
Now you don't have to leave your house to generate something to
Right.
bring like food on your table.
Yeah.
So not for everybody. I'm sure majority right now struggle because they wasn't prepared for the Aquarian matrix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. Well, my friend, this was
Thank you.
fun.
I hope I didn't exhaust you too much.
No, it's good.
I
This is
can be,
fun.
but amazing. One of the best readings so far on a very great pace. Brilliant. I really
Thank you.
appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. And stay in touch. Thank you for supporting the work that I do too. I really appreciate, all the times you're sharing videos and things. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it.
Pressing buttons religiously.
Yeah. All right, my friend.
Okay, let's stay in touch.
We will for sure. And I'll send you a copy of this within the next day or so. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. Peace.